I have been warning people over the last few years about the dangers of identity politics and what it will lead to, not just in entertainment, but in life. And because of people largely ignoring these reports, these issues, this very dangerous path that we have gone on as a society as a whole, well, you're seeing a very dangerous precedent. I got four things here. I'm not going to go over the topics, or I'm going to go over the topics, but not the stories as a whole. But the danger of identity politics is a massive and very important issue that needs to be addressed. So, yeah, let's get into it. Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everybody. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, yes, I actually had a very vehement reaction to Jenny Ortega coming out with this whole thing about Wednesday Addams and wants her Latina character to represent her community. So, knowing about Wednesday Addams, how she was a complete psychopath when it comes to her way of life and how she lives. Apparently, Jenny Ortega is so ignorant that she wants her character to represent the Latina community. So you want to say that the Latina community is full of dangerous psychopaths that will kill anybody from a whim. Is that what you're saying, Jenny? Because I guarantee you, that is the very ignorant thing to say. I mean, the whole Sir Lenny Henry on Amazon, or on Amazon series Diversity, saying that it's good that they forsaken Tolkien's pale characters and changed them to diverse PLC characters. Why? Is it because you are so shallow? Is it because people are so shallow that they have forgotten the teachings of important figures of history? Figures like Martin Luther King Jr., who taught that to judge people not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Well, sir, your very shallow content of character is not something to be admired. It is something to look upon and say this is a very regressive way of thinking. Lawsuit filed over provisions that could result in white teachers being fired first in Minneapolis. Look at what identity politics is leading to. They have gone so extreme that they even did this thing with the teachers that where even teachers with seniority and with greater time of experience will be fired first because they are white. And now, even a group demanded a space for students of color. Now they are being called racists. This is the division that identity politics creates. This is the problem with what identity politics is. And I'm going to break it down to brass tacks, folks. I have said it before. I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it again. When you are endorsing practices of identity politics, you are no better than slavers back during the slave auctions, where you are putting a person on a pedestal based on their race or identity and saying, pay for them. When you have idiots like Sir Lenny Henry saying that it is important that we have black hobbits. Why? Because you can't identify with somebody unless they're black? What's wrong with you? That is a very limited and a very retarded way of thinking. Yes, I am saying that this Sir Lenny Henry person is retarded, meaning held back and hindered, because he is so ingrained in believing that he can only identify with somebody if they are the same color as him. If you really need good examples of how people can identify with people who are different than them, I identify with Lando Calrissian. Why? He can be charming at times. He looks out for people. He cares a lot. I identify with Princess Leia because she can be a bit of a rebel at times, where she is not always listening to what her superiors tell her, but she likes to do her own thing as well. I identify with the Wookiee, who's not even human, because he is a very honorable figure. I identify with the droids, like R2-D2, who is willing to do what he needs to in order to save and protect his friends. I identify with C-3PO, because sometimes my intelligence can be seen as annoying to people. It is very easy to identify with characters who are not the same color, same sexual preference, same anything to you, because it is the content of their character that matters. I identify with Apollo Creed, played by Carl Weathers, because he was a very giving and very loving individual who cared about the American way of life. So yeah, imagine that. I identify with the character Mac from Predator, who was so loyal to his friend Blaine, who was his best friend in the unit, Dutch's unit. When he lost his friend, he lost his mind. Believe me, I have a best friend, and if I lose that best friend because somebody kills him, chances are I'll probably lose my mind too. I identify with Carl Weathers' other character in the Predator movie, Dylan, who understands that sometimes you need to be morally ambiguous in order to get something done. You need to wake up and see that not everything is black and white, but there's a gray level that you need to stride in order to get shit done. Identity politics, like these stories where people are so focused on their identity because they cannot handle anything that is different from them, that they can't identify with anything that is different from them. It is disturbing. It is evil. Yes, identity politics is evil. You want to know why? Because all you are doing is supporting an institution that is so regressive that people are calling for segregation when they were calling decades ago to end segregation, that we be unified. And people still are saying, well, you're racist to bring any of this up. What does a white person know? A white person's never been judged by the content of their character. We have been judged simply because we are white over the last few years, because we're white. Everybody's saying that we're right, or because we are white, we are inherently and systematically racist and systemically racist. Why? Because we had slaves in our ancestral past. Newsflash, folks! My ancestors were slaves who were white. They were Irish. They were indentured slaves to the British. My Scottish ancestors, the same. Funny thing about my ancestors, they never owned slaves in the United States. They were in the United States after the Civil War, after slavery was outlawed. They never took part in any of the hatred against black people. I grew up under or being raised by essentially the Martin Luther King doctrine. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood with very few black people. But you know what? I didn't treat them bad because of their skin color. I didn't treat them bad at all. As long as they respected me, I respected them. I treated them with respect so that I could befriend them. People like to say, oh, you've never been judged by the color of your skin. I got assaulted because I was white several times in my life. One time at a Walmart for wearing a Bo Jackson jersey. because I am a white person who liked Bo Jackson, who still likes Bo Jackson. He is my favorite all-time NFL player. Why? Because honestly, I liked how he played when I saw him play back when I was younger and saw videos of how he played the game, how he saw it as a hobby. What is so wrong with having diversity of thought, with staying true to context and to lore of entertainment? What is so wrong with maintaining consistency? What is so wrong with having a difference of opinion, political or otherwise? Why is it so wrong to identify with other people, not based on the color of our skin, but on the virtues that we live by? It seems that this is such an outdated notion, one that has come along in the last few hundred years and is now seen as evil. It is evil to think that a character who has been white and straight for decades should now or should stay that way. It is evil to think that they should stay that way and be identified with, not because they are white and straight, but maybe because of their heroic nature. What is wrong with caring about any character? I like Black Panther. I think he's a great character, but he's black. I don't want a white panther or a white person playing him. I don't want a white person playing Blade. His character is black. There are so many characters in Marvel that they are race swapping. DC and other comic books that they are race swapping, changing the sexual identity of, and all of that. Why? Because people of color, people of different sexual orientations are all complaining, but we can't identify with them because they're not the same as us. What does the fact of people like Bruce Wayne, who he's fucking, why is that so important to you? Why does Superman have to be black in order for you to identify with him? What is so wrong with identifying with a person who stands for truth, justice, and the American way? What is wrong with that? So what if he's white? Is that such a bad thing? Folks, this is beyond ridiculous now. It is to the point where I have been attacked on social media saying that because I am white, I am not allowed to say these things. And I have been reported by Twitter mobs, by social media mobs, saying that what I am saying is considered hate speech. It isn't. This is beyond ridiculous. That a person who is white can't even have an opinion anymore because, my precious feelings, if for some reason they don't go along with your very limited and narrow viewpoints. God gave everyone the ability to speak. God gave everyone free will. And He has allowed us to speak our minds, to have diversity of thought, to be diverse in other things as well, to be diverse in sexual orientation, to be diverse in races and whatnot. There's nothing wrong with a person of color. There's nothing wrong with a person with a different sexual identity. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you are a person who wants to have sex with children or teach children that your sexuality is the most important part of you. Why is that important to children who don't even understand these things unless you teach them about it and take away their sense of, innocence and free thinking. They don't need to have this stuff taught to them until they are able to understand it at a larger level. But to basically where this world is heading, I don't like it. Because, one, you're all saying that I am somehow evil simply because of the color of my skin. I am going to stand against that. I'm not going to say that all black people are racist. That's not true. I have many friends who happen to be people of color. I have many friends who happen to be of different varying sexual identities. I have many friends who are different races. Saying that doesn't make me racist. Pointing out those facts don't make me racist. But this sort of thing, where Minneapolis schools are saying that if teachers are going to be fired, it's the white ones that are going to be fired first, that is racist. If people are saying that things need to be changed because, well, they can't feel as if they identify with somebody unless they're the same color, that's not necessarily racist, but it is a very limited way of thinking. Diversity has been in film for over 100 years. Especially LGBTQ. They've had diversity since 1916 in film. Diversity in entertainment has been around since, well, before even Shakespeare. He had women in his plays. He had people of color in his plays in history. There's nothing wrong with differences. But because people are saying you are an ist, you are a istophobe, you are transphobic or whatever, because you don't agree with them or with their perceived lifestyle, that's not bigotry. That's a difference of opinion, and people need to learn this. I'm sick and tired of all of the division. I'm sick and tired of how easily people are manipulated into believing that this stuff is important, that you need to change people's races. You need to say that people who were oppressed in the past, who are long dead, their descendants deserve some sort of reparations. Well, what about mine? If you want reparations for yours, then why not reparations for mine? What? You want to know why I don't agree with that? I don't think I deserve reparations for my ancestors being enslaved. I don't. They're dead. What good is reparations for me going to do to them? This is, folks, our society has grown destructive, corrosive, toxic because of identity politics. Because people have to say that their race is what makes them who they are. It isn't. It is the choices you make, your individuality, that determines your worth. If black people are so oppressed, why was there a black president? How are you oppressed if your own culture made it to the number one executive spot in our society? You have senators, congresspeople who are black, who are Latina, who are all sorts of different ethnicities. How are you oppressed? You have so many people who you are the same race as, who have reached great heights in society, and yet somehow you say you are oppressed as a whole because of some bullshit president right now saying that you should be oppressed, that you should vote for them so that they can save you from the evils of somebody else, when they are the ones actually perpetrating this evil. When they are the ones saying, because you are the way you are, you should feel oppressed. No, you shouldn't. This is ridiculous, folks, and it needs to end. Why should people feel oppressed simply because of the color of their skin? Why? Because you had ancestors who may have been slaves? My ancestors were. I don't feel oppressed. Well, you got white privilege. How am I more privileged than you? Explain that to me. How am I more privileged than any other person, be them black, Hispanic, or otherwise? I would love for those kind of people to go into my comment section and explain that to me. If you disagree with me, you will have the first goes at explaining how I am more privileged than you simply because I'm white. It doesn't exist. Folks, that is my rant. That is my video. Hopefully you can all understand that it is not the color of your skin that matters. It should not matter that a person's character in entertainment be changed. It shouldn't be changed because people should be able to identify with characters based on their virtues and their identity of who they are, not the color of their skin. Enough of it has been done. Enough of it has caused enough division that I fear we will never be whole again. Those are my thoughts, folks. That is the video. You all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Whatever. Let me know down in the comment section, what do you think? Do you think I might actually have a point? Or do you think that I am nuts? That I am racist? That I'm a istaphobe or whatever? This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Have a wonderful day and stay humble.